Hello and welcome to Fluorescent. Today I am joined by Ben Miles and Emily Raymond, who are actors on stage and on screen. They've been involved in productions such as Wolf Hall, the Lehman Trilogy, and Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. My first question, how did you guys get into acting and why?
Both my parents are actors. So I have that strange thing of, I've got two siblings actually who are both older than me, and neither of them seemed that interested in it. It was always thought when I was growing up, if anyone goes into it, it's probably going to be Emily. And then I got to finishing my A levels and I kind of said, yeah, I think I'll probably either go to Central or RAD, I'm not sure yet. And hadn't auditioned anywhere and didn't really even learn the pieces that much. I was in a bit of a muddle. And anyway, eventually I got into Manchester Polytechnic. And it was probably in my first term there that I thought, I really, really like this on my own terms. Yes, this is what I want to do.
I got into it at school, at secondary school, and I got into the technical side of it. I was doing lighting and sound. They were doing the pantomime of Christmas Carol, and their Scrooge dropped out, so they needed a Scrooge quick. And the head of drama there was he was a fantastic teacher, really one of those really influential teachers that you have in your life. And he asked me if I wanted to do it, and I ended up doing it and ended up enjoying it. And I went to the National Youth Theatre for a 3-week course, and it was then I thought, yeah, I'd quite like to pursue this as a career. I did my A levels, and then I moved down to London from Derbyshire and started at the Guildhall, and that was really how I got into it.
Being in a company, for me, I would say 95% of the time is the best thing ever. I just absolutely love it. I love the immediate camaraderie that actors have with each other, and stage managers and directors and wardrobe, and just the whole coming together of the process is fantastic. The feeling of feeding off each other and creating something like that is wonderful. But when you're not in their company anymore, you're definitely not in the company. It's a very strange thing. There's a very special thing that happens, even if there's people you've worked with before, in that particular company. Yeah, the camaraderie's there, especially as you're all away from home at some point. It's not easy if you're in a company and you're not getting on with somebody, or the play just isn't working, or there's a kind of drain in the room, be it the director or whoever it is. That can be really consuming. And I quite like it on a long tour that you're going to a different venue each week, because it's exciting to play to different audiences and in different theatres, even though the set is the same. It's interesting as well to see how different people across the country react.
In my younger days, I enjoyed it. I've formed some very close friendships, and still have close friendships with those people still. Life on the road is great fun. It still is exciting and enjoyable, but I think it's harder. When you have a family and the older you get, the less fun it is being apart from your family. But as Em said, it's always really interesting to see how a play goes down in a different region of the United Kingdom or in a different country. It's also really great to take theatre out of the capital, out of London. So much of the prospective drama students, so much of the talent creatively comes from those regions, and so many of the stories and great plays come from the regions as well.
How do you go about learning lines?
And what helps me remember now is actual interaction with the other actors and physical positions and action on stage. Also music. They're all great kind of mnemonics for me now. It was interesting you mentioned the Lehman Trilogy. When we've sort of re-rehearsed it for a new venue, often when the three of us were in a certain position moving a certain box, or when a certain piece of music came in, it sort of switched on your kind of deep memory banks, and it helped me to remember a whole sort of section of stuff. Now, for me, it's a much more of a collective process. The job's never done, I don't think, learning lines, because you've got to remember them each time you do them as well.
When I first started, I would come home and just check that I knew, and I pretty much knew them, having rehearsed it a couple of times. They'd just go in. And now I find I just haven't got that capacity in my memory. And I have to really sit down and slog it out with the lines. And I find that really, really hard. But there's always a brilliant moment when, hopefully, when you've stopped, when you're off the book, and then there's a moment where the words are suddenly your friends and help you express what your character wants to say, rather than a kind of block between you and what you want to do.
What are your favourite things about theatre as a medium, and what potentially like new possibilities do you think there are coming up for this theatrical age of uncertainty potentially? But yeah,
I think the thing I enjoy most about theatre, and the thing that makes theatre unique and therefore vital that it survives as an art form, are kind of the things that are hampering its recovery the most. It's a live one-off event each time you do it. However it works in that room, it's a unique thing that will never happen again, because those particular people will never get together again in that way to see that show. I think we humans really need that, to gather physically together, to do something together or witness something together. And that's what theatre is, and that's why it's survived for thousands of years. Moving forward, it's going to be hard for theatre because, as I say, it's the least COVID-friendly activity I can think of.
If there's something that has occurred to me about this, it's that maybe part of London theatre, in particular West End theatre, has become so expensive to see and so expensive to produce, and therefore the ticket prices just go up and up and up, and it just becomes like a sort of machine in a way. And sometimes there are jewels in that machine that are just amazing, and actually the size of the set or whatever it is staggering. But I kind of hanker a little bit after maybe just going back a bit, whether we can't just try and cut down a bit on all that stuff that goes on around theatre sometimes, that just means that actually the people that get to see it are probably quite wealthy. And actually I'm now going to undercut myself by saying that NT Live is a great thing that's happened, that actually levels that out a bit.
I think theatre companies may have to pare it down, because they simply won't have the resources to produce those big shows for a good few years. So maybe we're entering a new phase of sort of simpler storytelling, smaller venues, more varied venues.
Interesting to see West End shows that aren't massive in their finances.
There may be a season at the Aldwych of £10 a seat for 4 months for everyone. You never know. Will people want to watch shows about isolation, or will people just want to forget about the whole thing and watch a Noel Coward or some kind of modern comedy that's got nothing to do with any kind of virus anyway? What are the tastes going to be? Nobody really knows.
What have you been doing to maybe be productive, but what have you been doing to just relax as well?
I was saying to a friend this morning, actually, I've sort of slowly ground to a halt. I don't know, I don't find it a particularly productive time. I have been in Tudor England because I've been reading the Hilary Mantel Trilogy, all three of them, one after the other, and that's been amazing. We've both done a bit of work in voice work.
It's definitely slower and quieter, definitely, than normal, of course. Been recording the audiobook versions of the Hilary Mantel Wolf Hall trilogy, which has kept me busy. Also helping Hilary Mantel dramatize the third book for the stage. Luckily for us, there's stuff to do, but there is a lot of downtime, and there is a lot of time where you sort of feel you should be doing something, but you're not. And it's important to allow yourself that time to not do much, and don't feel that you should be using this time all the time to produce, and allow yourself the time to relax and adapt to this weird situation, and let yourself try and work out how you feel about it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, some people have really become very productive and other people not. It's a strange one, isn't it? For actors, and maybe for me particularly, it's a great leveler, because you're not sitting there not working thinking all those what's going on, when's the next audition, what's happening. Nothing is happening. So that feeling of not being at the party, if you're not doing stuff, it's slightly gone, because there is no real party going on, and that's quite nice.
It will recover. Theatre will recover. I guess the trick is just staying in the game until that happens, and knowing how best to use your time, be it constructively, creatively, or times of inaction and rest. They're both as important as each other, you know. The flip side of the difficulty is this might be a really golden time for creative people to really think about why they write, why they act, what the point of drama is. Yeah. What are we all doing it for? What is the point of drama? Don't lose this chance to examine that. I think it's probably particularly your generation, who are now the sort of the new creators.
Well, what might happen, I think, is going to be an absolute explosion of work that I think a lot of people are going to want to go and see and actually seek out in a way that they might not have done before. The appreciation of entertainment, of exploring different avenues of thought or lives or whatever it is that you watch on TV, I think might just turn into a bit of a kind of renaissance of theatre.
I think this time, with like the call for entertainment being so important at the moment, seeing the NT Live stuff, or even just new shows that are coming on, because at the moment sometimes it's just reruns. You're like, no, I need something new, I need a story to get invested in. So I think people are hopefully going forward are going to see like the importance of that, and even within education, people realizing that arts are just as important as sciences, that kind of thing. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Creatives in Conversation.